I've always been a somewhat unusual and determined child. However, at times in my life, I've also been quite unmotivated and gone off path. And it is true that when I was 11 years old, I busked on the streets to earn enough money to fly to England to visit my relatives. I earned an aeroplane ticket, and that was a cool achievement. However, I would never have done that if it hadn't been for the support and the love of my parents and my sister to put me back on the streets when I was honestly just sick of playing that violin. And it is also true, like you just heard, I wrote my first book when I was 13 and got it published. But again, if I had not had that support around me, it would definitely never have happened. And also it was a school project, so I had schools, deadlines and things, and expectations from schools to accomplish this. And that really helped me to achieve it. So due to this, when I was 16 years old, my mum thought it might be a good idea to send me to a seminar called Frontier Trainings to help me with time management and motivation and stuff in school. I was going into year 11, so she thought that would be a good idea. And I think it's funny how sometimes someone can tell you something that can fly in one ear and then fly out the other ear just as fast, and you don't remember it, it doesn't stick, and it doesn't change your life in any way going forward. I experienced this in February 2011, last year, when someone shared with me at this training seminar the idea of the funnel of greatness. And I didn't even take much notice of it, and I just continued with my life, merry as I had always been going on. However, in July last year, again, I came across this concept, and this time it flew in one ear, and rather than leaving the other, it stayed in my mind, spinning around really fast, and it kind of consumed me for 6 whole months. The concept of a funnel of greatness and how I see it is that basically our 5 senses, it's like we're a funnel, and we are coming into contact with so much on a daily and minutely basis that flows into us and affects us in many ways. It affects our mindset, our beliefs, our values, how we see the world, and therefore what we do in this world and how we show up. And what I believe is that whether we as human beings, whether I personally manifest mediocrity or greatness in my life is dependent on whether I am pouring in mediocrity or greatness into my funnel. So this concept took me, and I decided I was going to do this for 6 months. I was like, all right, cool. I can sometimes get enthusiastic and obsessive, by the way. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just going to do this for 6 months, solid. And when I mean solid, I mean like every single minute of my day. I was like, all right, what am I doing with this minute? Am I reading a good book? What am I doing? How am I filling my funnel of greatness? And that the funnel and filling it, you can pour in so many things. It really includes the books you read, the movies you watch, the YouTube clips you watch, the blogs you read, the people you hang out with, the food you eat, the clothes you buy, the newspapers you're reading, what TV channels you're watching. It really is everything in your life that is flowing into you and making an impression on you, often unconsciously. So I was like, all right, cool, I'm totally going to live this funnel of greatness. I want some good books. So I asked people who were at the seminar with me of good books that they'd read that were life-changing in some way for them, had inspired them in some way. And I compiled a whole list, and I got online and ordered them all through my local library, and when they arrived, I remember driving to the library with my dad in the car, and then I ran inside and I got the books. Memory serves correctly, there were 17 books that I'd ordered in. And I hop into the car, and my dad looks at me with his face expression like, Catherine, how on earth do you plan to read all of these books before they due back to the library? You're in year 11, you've got a lot of homework on your plate. And I had to agree with him, and that's when I discovered something really cool, which is audiobooks, because you can do stuff while you're listening to the book. It's so cool. And so I went online again, and I ordered a whole lot of audiobooks. And where previously in my life, before I decided to live having a funnel of greatness, and only greatness, not letting in anything else that was mediocre or not serving me in my life path in any way. Before that, in the morning, when I'd wake up, it would look like grudgingly opening my eyes and stretching and getting out of bed if I have to. Fine, hopping in the shower and then making my sandwich. My thoughts going along the lines of, oh my God, I'm in year 11 now, how many stupid sandwiches have I made in my life, and my thoughts are going along this pattern. However, now, living a funnel of greatness and having a funnel of greatness in my life, I would wake up in the morning and I'd put in an audiobook, So now, while I was making my sandwich, instead I was listening to Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. And as I'm making my sandwich, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. To have so much respect for the guards when he was in prison, to be in prison for so many years, and then to come out and just forgive everyone. Like, whoa, he's a legend. Or maybe the other day when I was an audiobook I was listening to, it was Richard Branson's Business Stripped Bare. And I'm taking all these entrepreneurial tips. I'm like, oh, well, when I have a business, I'm going to remember that and do that. And, oh, that's a cool business idea. And my thoughts are flowing, and I was in an inspired state early in the morning. Or another time, if I was listening to Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, then I'd be making my sandwich and just be like, oh my gosh, there's just one eternal moment of now. There's no past, there's no future. It's just right now. I'm making this sandwich, and just now is the moment. And needless to say, this was a completely different state to be starting my day in, and that would carry through and change the tone of my day, carrying through for the rest of the day. And it made a huge impact on me and my mood, how enthusiastic I was about life, how I saw life, because suddenly, I guess there are some things in the world that you can see on TV and stuff which isn't pleasant and isn't the positive side of humanity. So by only focusing on having a funnel of greatness, all my focus was on all the good and the inspiring and the lovely people and deeds done in the world, and it really inspired me about how awesome life is and how awesome it is to be on this planet today. And I remember 2 months into doing this 6-month experiment of obsessively every minute of my day pouring in positive greatness into me, I slipped. I went to a friend's house and we wanted to watch a movie. We're having a sleepover, and she showed me the front cover of this movie. And I looked at it and immediately I knew it was not greatness. Like, this was the polar opposite of greatness. But I mean, Catherine, you've been doing this solidly for 2 months now. Like, good on you. That's really awesome. Like, surely, like, just once you can just watch this one thing that's like, okay, a bit mediocre. But like, doesn't matter. It's not like it's that impressionable on you. It's going to change you that much, or your mindset. It's just one movie. Okay, just watch it. It'll be fun, whatever. And so we put it on and we watch it. And this really is the movie that is the epitome of good-looking guys and good-looking girls being horrible to each other, cheating on each other, sleeping with each other's best friends, spying each other's drinks when they don't want it done, alcohol, drugs, just like with no plot. Like, there's no storyline, of course. It's all just this one mesh of opposite of funnel of greatness, definitely. And as I was watching this movie, I have like my normal brain and my moods and my thoughts, and then there's like this little observer in my brain, which is kind of like neutral and finds it really interesting observing my thoughts and what's going on in my brain. And I'm watching this movie, and this little observer is like, oh my gosh, Catherine, this is so interesting. Look how your mindset's changing. You've been watching this for like half an hour. And I'm like, oh my God, I know. And I was like losing faith in humanity. Like, why do we make movies like this? I mean, people even want to watch these movies. Like, what's wrong with our world? And it's like, oh my gosh, this is really interesting. And I agreed, it was. And before going to bed that night, I was lying in bed and I was thinking of this stupid movie again. And then I was thinking to myself, this is stupid that I'm thinking of this stupid movie, but I'm still thinking about this stupid movie. But it's stupid, so just stop thinking about it, Catherine, just go to sleep. And I found it fascinating how it was still playing on my mind and my emotions and my mood and how I was viewing the world in that space. So I went to sleep, and the next morning I woke up, and guess what was still in my brain? And I still remember going, all right, like, I get it. This is a negative experience, and it's totally not what I want to fill myself with. It's not what I want to pour into my funnel. It's not who I am in the world. It's not how I don't want those influences on me in my life, and I want to do much greater things. This does not align with me or my life path in any way. I get it. I'm no longer going to watch things like this that are just negative and quite silly. And I arrived home that morning and like called to mum and dad, hi, just raced up the stairs into my bedroom. And beside my bed, there was a stack of books that I was reading. And the top one, which is the one I was busy reading, I remember it clear as day. It was Neil Donald Walsh's Conversations with God. It was the first one in the trilogy. And I opened it up to where I was, and I just started devouring pages of this, just like, I've just got to like wash my brain with like good stuff again. And this experience was really pivotal for me to realise just how susceptible we are as human beings to the things around us. And that there's actually quite a lot in our world, in the tabloids, in just when you turn on the TV and things that are not serving us as a human race and really don't need to be focused on. And I realised in my life I don't want to ever waste my time again on things like that. And so the next 6 months for me were really awesome. And the whole time, as I was doing this solid 6 months thing, the whole time I was thinking, okay, so I'm pouring all this positive, cool stuff into me. That's lovely. And a little part of me was kind of like hoping maybe some cool stuff would come out of that. But I didn't want any expectations. I was like, I don't want to put any expectations on myself or like say to myself, I have to have these cool like life-changing experiences. I don't know what's going to come up, but something might come up in the next 6 months. And that's what I actually think is really powerful about living and having a funnel of greatness, is that often, well, personally, when I just think of a leader, or say the word leader, I think of a leader, one individual, and a group of followers who they're attempting to spire into action. And when we look at this leader and assess this leader and assess leadership qualities, I find that often what we're focusing on is what is coming out of that leader. What is that leader standing up and doing, and what are they projecting out into the world? What are their maybe techniques, vocal techniques, and whatever it is that they're using to inspire action? And I think that's really valid. And alongside that, I think it would be really cool if we could also start to notice not only is what is this leader projecting outwards, but also what are they projecting from the outwards into themselves? What are they pouring into their funnel? Because it's mathematical and logical that what you pour in, you get out. So during these 6 months, I was kind of hoping that if I'm pouring in all this cool stuff into me, then maybe something cool will come out. But I just let it be. I didn't want to have these expectations of myself and expect myself to do great things or whatever. I mean, I couldn't even conceive of what maybe I could do. I just let it be. And I lived my life, and part of my funnel of greatness was going to a lot of seminars and things like that. And through going to some of these seminars, some opportunities came up for me which previously I would have never perceived that I could do. For instance, the interview series that I'm doing now, I'm interviewing people who are really successful in their industries, and it's awesome because it's like another one of my channels, like pouring into my funnel, because interviewing these people is amazing. They have so much wisdom, and hearing their life stories is so inspiring, so I absolutely love it. And so I started this interview series in those 6 months, and that little voice in my brain was like, oh, cool, that's interesting, Catherine. Look, you're doing something different that you thought you'd never do before, and hey, it's really awesome. It's really positive in your life, and you're learning a hell of a lot from it. And so I kept going along, living the funnel of greatness, not slipping up anymore. I'd learnt that lesson. And I kept just reading books, and really every minute of my day I would just solidly spend on pouring good stuff into me. And then I came up with the idea of, well, why don't I write a book? You know, that'd be kind of cool. Like, I've already written one, so I should be able to do it again. And I'll write a book inspired by these people I'm interviewing, which is what I'm busy now doing. So I was like, oh, interesting, that's another cool thing that's come up in these 6 months. Oh. And the third thing, which was quite life-changing for me, which came up in those 6 months that just flowed out of me and the experiences I was having, was public speaking. Now, previously in life, I'd always kind of had this idea that maybe it would be cool to stand on a stage and like talk to some people one day. Like, you know, like when I'm 30 or like 35 and I'm like, you know, like a woman. Like I'm grown up and I know something, and it, you know, it might be cool to like stand there and say something. And I'd always projected into the future of something that would happen when, you know, I'm old and I'm an adult and I have cool ideas or whatever. And then this opportunity came up, and I was like, well, hang on a second. Why not now? I mean, Richard Branson didn't wait to start his student magazine. He didn't wait till he was 35. Why should I not take this opportunity? And I did, and I took that opportunity with both hands, and it was kind of scary because that opportunity came about really quickly, and I had less than 24 hours to prepare for this talk that I was giving, like in front of all these other teenagers, and I was like, oh, but it was really fun. And I did it, and that was a big deal for me. And since then, I've been doing lots of other talks and things as well, which I've also thoroughly enjoyed. And you may be wondering, well, today you're standing here, do you still live having a funnel of greatness quite so obsessively as you did over those 6 months? And the answer is no. Where previously, if I felt like just sitting in front of the fire and maybe staring at the fire for a few minutes, I would have been like, no, wait, good book, let me run upstairs, I can use this minute, I can just read a page or whatever. Now I let myself just sit in front of the fire if I just feel like sitting in front of the fire. So I have a bit more balance in my life, which is always important. Though it was a really cool experiment for me to realise the power of having and living a funnel of greatness. And we're talking about leadership today, and I believe that future leadership depends on us as individuals leading ourselves. When I look around at the world today, there's too many people being led by the news, by tabloids that often don't tell the truth anyway, and by a whole lot of just other external factors that are pushing them through life, and they're not really taking control of who they are or what they want to do in the world, what they want to bring to the world, or what changes they might want to create, and they're just letting themselves be swayed here and there. And I believe that future leadership really depends on all of us as individuals consciously taking control and command over who we are, and consciously choosing what we pour into our funnels so that what comes out is positive and edifying and helping our world and solving some of the problems that we do have today. So I also believe that future leadership, we say the word future, but back to Eckhart Tolle, it starts now. And I think today is really the time for us to start living future leadership and how we'd like to see the world. And so I invite all of you, having heard my experience of what happened when I decided to, you don't have to go quite obsessive as me, that's right, to live a funnel of greatness, I invite you all to, in your lives, think about what are some things that you're doing with your time that maybe could be better spent on things that serve you more, so that you can consciously make decisions of what you want to spend your time doing and what you want to spend influencing yourself and your mindset, what you want to let influence you, and see what cool things come out, because you might just suddenly start a speaking career you never thought you would do. You never know. So I invite you all to join me with this idea of living in a funnel of greatness and to see what changes might occur in your life by doing so. Thank you.